of 920 infections, 96,597 recoveries, and 3,209 deaths. The cases in hospitals today are 179, with 95 in critical category, and the percentage of people that are found positive is today 1% instead of 20% as of September 2021, when the corona spread was highest. While we regret the death, the 3,000 that have occurred here in Uganda on account of corona, we cannot compare them with the death that occurred in some of the other countries of the world, as indicated below here. USA, 741,000. Brazil, 607,000. Italy, 132,000. India, 456,000. UK, 140,000. France, 118,000. China, 4,636. Russia, 203,000. South Africa, 89,000. You can hear huge numbers, and here we are talking of 3,000. Moreover, most of the deaths in Uganda happened between May and September of 2021. Recently, during the second wave, caused by the indiscipline of some of the actors who were undermining the preventive and congregating measures. Up to end of March 2021, only 324 had died. Up to the end of March. So even this, an extra almost 3,000 were caused by the indiscipline of the people who were playing around with the lives of our people. However, as I told you on one occasion, the problem in this pandemic, like in many other diseases, is not the virus, but ourselves. We are the problem, not the virus. Virus abantu bagiwayiriza nti ekizibu songa ffe yeffe abalina ekizibu. Why do I say this? I've told you before that the virus has no legs to walk around, and has no wings to fly. When somebody with corona is breathing normally, the virus will only move from the infected person for 2 meters. I think when he coughs, maybe it may be further. Therefore, with the use of masks and other preventive measures, This virus is easily preventable. Besides using alcohol-based sanitizers, all the viruses on the surfaces of tables and so on will be killed and will not therefore spread. On top of all this, it became clear early in the pandemic that a vaccine against this virus could be found quickly. Unlike other diseases like AIDS, where the vaccine has eluded the world for almost 40 years now. By the beginning of this year, vaccines had been developed in the USA, UK, India, Russia, China, etc. Even here, we are developing our own vaccines, and we are trying to liaise with other African countries to build our own pathogenic economy, wealth from the diseases of our human beings, our livestock, and our plants. Curing and preventing these diseases of human beings, livestock, and plants, apart from saving the life forms involved, it is also good business, part of wealth creation. And we are determined to get that money, the money from our sicknesses. Since we are getting sick, why not make money out of it? Because other people have been doing it for a long time. Initially, there was some unfortunate conduct by some actors in the world who took the line that once the vaccines were available, they would vaccinate their people first and not bother with the other human beings. Some people were annoyed by this attitude, but I actually liked it. It should wake up Africans to know that we should always take our destiny in our own hands. As we struggle with our own vaccines and other curative efforts, vaccines from other sources have become available through the government of Uganda buying from willing sellers, and also through some donations. Here below is the number of vaccines now available. The vaccines received now, AstraZeneca, 4.5 million. Pfizer, these are doses. Pfizer, 1.6 million, or roughly 1.7 million doses. Moderna, 647,000. Sinovac, 1 million. Sinopharm, 346,000. Johnson & Johnson, 1.4 million. Many of the vaccines need to be given twice. Now, by end of December, we shall have received 23 million doses of vaccines will have been acquired. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is only given once. Therefore, the Johnson & Johnson 1.4 million vaccines will vaccinate that same number of people. while the AstraZeneca, Sinovac, Sinopharm, Pfizer, Moderna types of vaccines will cater for about 11.4 million people. Therefore, by the end of December 2021, more than 12 million Ugandans will have been vaccinated out of the 21 million that will have to be vaccinated. Most crucial is that within the 12 million, there are the 4.8 million frontline and vulnerable categories that will act as the fire break. Australia, the Banyankore had that technology. When fire was coming from outside, from the bush, you would either use fire to create an already burnt patch, so called Australia, so that when the wildfire comes, it can't cross this patch which is there. These days we have people, big farmers have roads around the farms, and that road becomes a fire break. When the fire comes, it can't jump. So our fire break, our Australia, are the 4.8 million. This is the belt, the fire break. Road or Ruhira they call it in Nyankore, a burnt path that you create around the farm, stop wildfire from entering the farm. These 4.8 million include the following: teachers and non-teaching staff in education institutions, security personnel, health workers, market and bar workers. I hope they were included. If they were not, they should be included. If I'm working in a bar or working in a market, definitely I am a front line. I am more than front line. I am actually in the battle itself. So the bar workers and not the bar attendants, not the ones who come to drink, but the ones who work there. They should be included. The guards who sell in the market, because they are there all the time, they should be included. Now, once those are included, it may go slightly beyond 5 million. The health workers, market and bar workers, they were not in the 4.8, but the minister will include them. Students of post-secondary institutions, adults of age 50 years and above, and those below age 50 years, but with comorbidities, diabetes, HIV, blood pressure, cancer, etc. So the number may be slightly more than 4.8 if you include some of these other people, but these are the core. All these must be fully vaccinated by the end of December, so that we open schools and the rest of the economy by January. That's what we want to do. It is now possible to do this. Resume full throttle activities of life and economy with rational safety. You do things when you are rationally sure that I have minimized the risks. Many of the vaccines needed to vaccinate the more than 12 million people including the core 4.8 million, are now available. Right now, there are 4.7 million vaccines, enough to vaccinate to vaccinate 1.6 million people and vaccinate 2.4 million people as first dose at our current rate of vaccination. What is amazing is that I was told the other day that some categories, especially the ones above the 50 years of age, are not coming forward to be vaccinated at the health center 3s. My wonderful Minister of Health people had come with donors, our foreign friends, and they were saying that the donors should help us to get people to walk 2 miles from Maware to Semuto to be vaccinated. That making Maware is our areas in Ruero. Some officials from Ministry of Health were saying that donors should help us to make somebody walk from Maware to Semuto to be vaccinated. Really? You need donors to do this? To do what? I hope they don't want a loan to make people move from Maware to Semuto for vaccination. It is amazing how our people live undone what they should have done and do what they ought not to be done, and there is no truth in them. I am now here telling all Ugandans that the vaccines for frontline workers and for the vulnerable categories are available. Walk to the health center 3 or be carried there by the Bazukuru in Ngozi. Ngozi is a hammock. Go by border. Go by bicycle or go by vehicle and be immunized. I do not believe that Ugandans would refuse to be immunized. They were simply not told. In any case, let everybody be informed that the schools will be opened in January and the rest of the economy will be opened in that same January 2022. Although the teachers are being vaccinated, we rejected the irresponsible idea of opening schools now, because most of the learners are day scholars. They study and go back home every day. The children somehow seem to manage the corona reasonably well to survive it. It is the adults or those with comorbidities that seem to be vulnerable. It was therefore criminal to propose that we open schools without vaccinating the vulnerable parents and grandparents. We would have ended up losing many thousands of people. We would have ended up with the children-headed homesteads like the ones we had under AIDS, where AIDS killed many of the sexually active people, hence leaving only the children and their grandparents in their homesteads on Maka. With corona, it would have been worse, because both parents and grandparents would die. And some have died. I know some parents who have died in their 40s and the grandparents who have died in their 60s, 70s, and so on. That is the nonsense about opening schools without widespread vaccination. All the complications that come with school closure, teenage pregnancies, loss of study time, etc., are reversible. But death is irreversible. Young mothers can go back to school and study later. Adults can study. Dead people do not do anything. Now that we have the vaccines, all the eligible categories come out and be vaccinated so that we open the schools and the economy in January 2022. Even if you do not come for vaccination, we shall open the schools and the economy in January. If anything goes wrong, if you get harmed by corona when it was wholly avoidable, the moral responsibility will be yours or that of the more informed members of your family that should lead you to what is needed. Probably one exception is that the political leaders in the sub-counties could identify the judges that can no longer move, whom the vaccination team could find at home. There is a picture, I don't know whether there is a picture of 3 days ago with my Tatenkazi, Senga, paternal aunt, Elna Kakwanjira, I don't know whether they got it. Possibly 103 years old, who, when I went to see her, she thought I was a doctor. When I went to see her, she said, oh, these are the type that you should find at home, the ones of 199, 95. The vaccination team could find those at home, but not the ones of 50 years. A man of 50 years, a person of 50 years can walk to the health center. 60 years. The Yoweri Museveni of 70s, I'm here. They should find me at home also. Even those of the 80s can go to the health center. This should move to the health center 3 and be vaccinated, because I was told by the Minister of Health people that they are vaccinating every day. Every day they are there. They are vaccinating. Health Center 3. This should move to the Health Center 3 and be vaccinated. We should not overwork the vaccination teams and incur unnecessary expenses. Vaccination is the key to opening the economy. Now that the vaccines are available, the economy will be opened in January, even if some people absent themselves from the vaccination. While I do not have authority to blame the elected leaders, LC3 chairpersons, district councillors, MPs, etc., I have full authority over the sub-county chiefs, the Miruka chiefs, and the GISOs. Use your contacts to ensure that all adults beyond 50 years in your area are vaccinated, as well as the other frontline workers enumerated above. If there are people not vaccinated, I will hold you accountable. The Gombora chief, the Buruka chief, the GISO, these are government employees. The others are political leaders. They are elected by those who elected them. So If they don't work, it is the electors who will blame them. But for the three, the Gombora chief, the Muruka chief, the Giso, I'm not blaming now, oh, that's my aunt. That's my aunt, 103 years. This is the one they should find at home. Because when I came, she said I was a doctor. She couldn't recognize me. Okay, thank you very much. This time I will not blame the health teams, because really the health teams are overworked. They should be assisted. The health workers have been on the front line fighting this disease for 19 months. I know sometimes I criticize our medical people, but really this time they have been, when I was in Ruero fighting, they were somewhere doing other things. But this time, they are the ones who have been in the Ruero Triangle. Because it's very dangerous. Some of the health workers have died. A single carelessness can cause a big problem for and they are always dressed up, covered as if they are going to the moon. When I put in this mask for a little time, I almost feel like dying. So you can imagine somebody dressed like that for such a long time. And the day after, this is 19 months. It's 19 months. So really, I don't like the okwejiza. Wanyankole call it okwejiza. Abaganda bakita ndozo okwekoza. Somebody to pretend that I can't do something when in fact he can do it. That you can't walk 2 miles to the sub-county to be vaccinated. Many of these sub-counties now are radius 2 miles, 3 miles. And there are borders everywhere. So please, don't put additional burden on the health workers that they should go to homes. I cannot overtask the vaccination teams to go to people's homes. The relatives, the sub-county chiefs, the Miruka chiefs, and the GISOs should be the ones to whip the people to go for the vaccination. The vaccination teams should only go for the judges of 95 years and beyond if they cannot really move. Because even my aunt, I got her from Zimbabwe. She came all the way to here. That's why I took a picture with her. And she came for, so even the judges can move. But in case they can't, at least those ones, the ones over 195. Therefore, please, everybody, the 4.8, let's say roughly 5 million or 5.5, if you include the bar people, the what, make sure that those people are vaccinated. Coming to the issue of terrorists using crime to undermine peace and progress, I need to remind the Ugandans of what I said on the Day of Independence celebrations. I talked of the wealth creators in the form of cattle keepers, crop growers, carpenters, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, etc., that I was part of when I was growing up in Ntungamo, Kashari, Bukanga, and Nyabushozi, and the parasites, the people that do not want to do patient work, but want food and wealth without working. The latter category, the parasites, included the policemen, chiefs, veterinary staff, health workers that were taking bribes, also teachers that were sexually exploiting schoolgirls, and other categories of people that were not part of the wealth creators, including later on politicians and soldiers that were not part of the wealth creation. To those, add thieves. Wealth creators always want peace and fairness, because the lack of the two affects their wealth creation activities. The wealth creators of Ntungamo and the rest of the Ankole area, where I fully participated in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, respected and appreciated one another because they needed one another. The 4 Indian and 2 Arab shopkeeping families at Ntungamo brought us products we did not have: textiles, cattle salt, known as mahonde, soap, Gamatox and Kupatox. These were cattle acaricides. We, the wealth creators, did not therefore appreciate the expulsion of the Indians. It was in the cotton-growing areas of Uganda that you had tension between the African cotton growers and the Indian ginas that were cheating them. Although it took time for issues to clear, the NRM eventually emerged as a major political force, always standing for the interests of the wealth creators and opposing parasites. As wealth creators, we never believe in sectarianism of religion, tribe, race, or gender chauvinism, because many of these are wealth creators, and certainly all of them are wealth consumers. They are market for the wealth creators' products. How and why should we be against people who buy our products? And why should they be against us because we buy their products? That is why we had no problem with the 6 Indian and Arab families at Ntungamo. It is the parasites that are not part of this equation. When the NRM came onto the political scene in 1965, initially as a student movement, we rejected the ideology and politics of sectarianism of religion or tribes and gender chauvinism, as I've already said. Those pushing the opportunistic politics of sectarianism, the politics of identity, rather than the politics of people's interests, people's needs, decided to introduce guns into the politics. Hence, the 1966 crisis, the Amin coup of 1971, the 1980 hijacking of the post-Amin process, etc. We had no alternative but to wage the armed struggle to save our cadres, to save the people, and to save our ideology of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. Because these people were preaching totally different things. And they could not allow us to peacefully preach our own version. That is how we gained the upper hand in 1986. We are not the ones who started using guns, it is others. 1966, 1971, who were not the ones who introduced guns into politics. But when they did, we responded, and that's what happened. That's how we gained the upper hand in 1986. When the people of Uganda had the chance to look at our ideology of the 4 principles, the majority appreciated it. That is how the NRM has been winning with absolute majorities, about 50%. We have never had a rerun. In other countries, they vote first round, then no winner, then you go back. We have never had. Ever since 1994, the time of the CA, we have never had. NRM wins, first round, finish. In spite, NRM is not very well organized. A lot of organizational weaknesses, there are no election agents, what? But still, because of the numbers, we win. The opportunists and the parasites became desperate. That is how they resorted to insurgency and rural terrorism. Coin, Lakwena. Although Lakwena was not a terrorist, she was confused, but she would not kill civilians. But the others were all terrorists. Coin, FOBA, UPA, Kirimutu, Itongwa, ADF, Western Nile Bank Front, etc. These were using insurgency with terrorism. Insurgency in the bush, but using terrorism, which means indiscriminate use of violence, especially on soft targets and armed civilians. When you attack, and you become a terrorist when you attack an armed civilians. If you want to be a rebel and fight the army. Then we shall call a rebel fighter, but not a terrorist. You only become a terrorist when you attack somebody who is not armed. This is the difference. People think that all rebels are terrorists. No, you can be a rebel, but not a terrorist. You have committed treason, you have rebelled, you shall be tried for treason because you are trying to overthrow the Constitution. But at least you are fighting soldier to soldier. So, you have committed treason, you will be tried for that, but not for terrorism. Terrorism is when you use violence on non-combatants, on civilians, soft targets. However, all these were defeated, all of them. COIN, ADF, UPA, they were all defeated. Defeated in what? In insurgency in the rural areas using terrorism. They were defeated. The last to be defeated was ADF in 2007 in the Semrik National Park. ADF also tried urban bombings in the years 1997 to 2001. That campaign was also defeated. In those 3 years, ADF planted 30 bombs, killing 147 people by this method. Then later, starting in the year 2012, ADF started killing Muslim sheikhs who did not agree with their confused ideology. Altogether, 8 sheikhs were killed. Also killed by a combination of ADF and possibly other actors were Joan Kagezi, the prosecutor, Deputy Inspector General of Police Kawesi, Abiriga, Member of Parliament, and Major Chigundu. There were also other murders not connected with ADF, possibly, like the murders of women in Entebbe, Zana, Nansana, and the New Year's Day killings in Iksojo, in the Masaka region. Some of these killers were arrested or even killed, like Chidawali May of the Iksojo killings. He was killed and the whole group was wiped out. Also the killers of Susan Magara, whose parents had paid the ransom demanded, were arrested and some were killed. This was again ADF, and they had quickly used the ransom money to buy land in Buikwe, the ones who had kidnapped Susan Magara. 74 suspects were arrested and were put before court as a consequence of the ADF actions. Although we had some success, I discovered that there were gaps in the policing capacity of the country. The counter-insurgency capacity of the country was robust and impregnable. By 2007, that capacity was fully built. You could not wage insurgency in Uganda's rural areas, whatever the terrain, Rwenzori, what, successfully. However, the policing, anti-crime, whether terrorist or ordinary crime, had serious gaps of 3 types. Number 1, infiltration of the police by criminal elements that would collude with the criminals. Some of the police were now colluding with the criminals. Laxity and lack of seriousness, and a serious deficit in technological capacity of the police to handle crime. Having studied the situation, and after discussing with the armed forces, I made my speech before Parliament of the 20th of June, 2018, where I outlined 12 measures to rectify the situation. That analysis should have been done by the police leadership long ago, instead of waiting for the president to be the one to discover those weaknesses and look for solutions. It is the partial implementation of those measures that have enabled us to achieve almost 100% success in the recent times. Being bankrupt and unable to study anything seriously, the ADF made the mistake of attacking General Katumba on the 1st of June 2021. Assisted by the partially implemented technologies, some of the actors were clearly identified and arrested. Those killed, and arrested. Arresting some led to the arresting of others. Because you see, why Ugandans should not be intimidated by criminals. There's no way somebody can commit a crime and not leave clues behind. It is impossible. They always leave clues. If the police is serious, they will not fail to get clues. So when you arrest some, you are sure to get all the others. So by arresting the original group in the Katumba killings led to the arresting of others. Since the attack on General Katumba, 5 ADF operatives have been killed and 36 suspects have been arrested. Those killed are Nsubuga Hamidu, this is the one who was killed the other day, Rubama Hussein, also known as Master, he was calling himself Master, that he is master of killing people. Juma Saidi, Mustafa Kawawa, Serwanda Juma, and then Matov Isaac, the one who blew himself up in the bus recently. So there are 6, if you include that one. These are all from the same group. The one which attacked Katumba and went to Paderi to blow up the funeral of Lokech. They are the same group, ADF. So 6 of them are now dead and 36 are arrested, and we are continuing because there are others still not arrested. The massacre killings were by another line of criminals that, using the new capacity of the police plus the vigilance of the Wananchi, were quickly arrested, and these suspects have been brought to court. So those ones were slightly different group, but they were quickly arrested, and they are now in court, the suspects. Also the other murders, like the one of our Ntoroko chairman, NRM chairman, the policeman Agaba in Barara, etc., have had suspects arrested quickly and some killed, like the deserter who was killed the other day. There was a deserter who was killed the other day, the one who was involved in the killing of the policeman in Barara, who had gone to respond to an alarm. I would therefore like to assure the public that neither rural-based insurgency nor urban terrorism will defy our capacity. The only issue to deal with is the matter of bail. We, the freedom fighters, have never supported the issue of bail for murderers, rapists, and firers of the underage. The present debate is good because it shows who is who, and we are not going to relent until this shameful betrayal by the elements of the neo-colonial elite of the masses is defeated. Village thefts should also not be assisted by bail. Otherwise, our anti-poverty campaigns will never succeed, and mob justice will increase. The parasites will not succeed. The wealth creators of this part of the world survived the mismanagement of the pre-colonial chiefs. You know, when I listen to people talking, I don't know whether they know that there are people, the indigenous of this part of the world, this is our land. When I hear people talking, doing things, Do these people know that this land has got its original people? In 1966, when we were in the dormitory, listening to the speech made by Mr. Obote, that he had abrogated the constitution, we wondered, how can this happen? How? It seems people don't know that the majority of the population of Uganda are the indigenous people of Uganda. And the majority of them are wealth creators. They are not people who depend on other people's sweat. They depend on their own sweat. The only thing they need is just peace. I remember when people were clamoring for independence, my father was not supporting independence. He was saying, you people, you are chasing the white man. Are you not going to bring back the spear? Because before colonialism, these little kingdoms were in endless war. These little kingdoms here. We had a little king there in Mbarara called Rubambansi, that is control of the whole world. They thought that Ankole was the whole world. So my father, he was saying, you people, you are chasing the white, because the white man had brought some sort of peace, had imposed peace on the land. And they said, no, they would. So when independence came and then Lumumba died, so he was, Lumumba free. He was always telling me how. So the wealth creators of this part of the world want peace. That's why I'm emphasizing, because when I hear the way people are talking, you could see that actually many of the people talking are parasites. They don't produce wealth. They just want to grab power. Many of the people don't need power. They just need peace. Yes. I have never had anybody in my family in the government. I'm the first one to be in the government. Not even a Murka chief. We've never had even a Murka chief. But we have been here from the time of the Batwezi, from the time of the Batembus, we are here. Yeah. We survived the mismanagement of the pre-colonial chiefs, survived the horrors of colonialism, forced labor, Kasamvu, Chiboko. This coffee called Chiboko, it is because people were beaten to grow it. That's why they call it Chiboko, Robusta. Have survived the neo-colonial regimes and actors, and are now, for the first time in history, organized under the NRM. The wealth creators are now, for the first time, organized. In the past, they were always victims. But this time, we are organized. We shall defeat any scheme of the parasites supported by whatever force, internal or external. Political differences among wealth creators do not have to lead to war and insecurity. Following the coup by Obote in 1966-67, while doing temporary teaching at Burunga Primary School, after Sunday service, I found about 10 women in the church lamenting about the situation of that time. Obote had abolished the kingdoms. And to these women, that was the end of the world. They told me in Runyankwade, Orahuri Rensi, Etene Mugabe, have you ever heard of a country without a king? You know, they thought that was the end of the world. And these women, I found them in the church. They were like giving up. How can we have a country without a king? Orahuri Rensi, Etene Mugabe. I told them not to bother themselves, and that indeed people exist without kings. I educated them in that group. I told them of Russia. I said there's a country called Russia. They had kings, they removed them. I told them about America. I said there's a big country called America, they don't have kings. I told them about China, India, France, and even Uganda. Indeed, Uganda itself, where we had the Batembu's dynasty, the old king, that dynasty of the Batembuzi, the Batwez dynasty. I said, I educated these women. Said, those groups came and went. And then these dynasties they were talking about, the ones which Obote removed, the Bahinda, the Babito, the Barangira. So I was able to explain to these women that please forget about this. Since they were all wealth creators, I told them to concentrate on wealth creation. Although we were not supporters of Obote in that area of North Ankole, I approached the UPC government in Kampala and actually started working with them on behalf of my wealth creators in the Ankole area and other parts of the Cattle Corridor. So I actually came to Kampala here and talked to Vice President Babaiha. And we were not UPC, but we were working with UPC to continue the struggle of wealth creation. It was only when the situation became impossible to do anything constructive that we took up arms. Otherwise, if, for instance, if Amin had not come in, we were moving. We were not UPC, but there were political problems, but political problems can wait. They will be solved when the time is ready. But now let's continue with livelihood of the people, wealth creation. I'm therefore very happy with many actors in the opposition that are rejecting the negative messages of some of the actors, because I know what's happening in the opposition. There are many actors there who say, please. They are there, I know them. They are the parasites who want to go and get money from homosexuals in America, from what? After the parasites. But the others who say, no. Yeah. We don't want to disturb our country. I know this. I know who is saying what. I'm therefore very happy with many actors in the opposition that are rejecting the negative messages of some of the actors. Down with the parasites. Finally, sympathy for the young people, boys and girls that have been lured into ADF by the confused elements that had been mobilized by elements with the Turabi of Sudan. You can imagine. Turabi had mobilized some of our children here. One of the boys we are hunting in the case of Katumba, who was involved in the case of Katumba, we are hunting him. He's running around in the region. We are hunting is known as Ubaida bin Bukenya. That's what he's now calling himself. Ubaida bin Bukenya. Incredible. Imagine Bukenya of the Engabi clan. I have now found that the Bukenyas are from Engabi clan. Bukenya of the Engabi clan has now become an Arab. Ubaida bin Bukenya. It's trying to be like an Arab. He was alleged to have been involved in the attack on General Katumba. When I checked, I found that he had been in the confusing center, so-called Institute of Turabi in Sudan. That Turabi group destroyed a country known as Sudan. You must have heard of a country called Sudan. It was destroyed by this Turabi group. It was one country, it had to split. There is now North Sudan, South Sudan. Destroyed by whom? By Turabi and his group. How? Emphasizing identity. We are Arabs, we are Muslims, we are... Oh, so if you are an Arab and I'm not an Arab, what am I doing here? And if I'm not a Muslim, and if... So, those people who take that line are very, very dangerous people. How can Bukenya of the Engabi clan be an Arab? I am Museveni. One of my praise name is Rehembo Gwenjura, son of Kaguta of the Wasita clan. The fact that my family joined the Christian religion in 1947, after 4.5 million years of staying in Africa, we have been here for 4.5 million years. The religions we are talking about have come in the last 100 to 150 years. Does not, the fact that I joined that religion in 1947 does not make Museveni a Jew or an Anglo-Saxon, because we received that religion from those areas. I cannot say because I am a Christian, I'm therefore an Englishman, or I'm a Jew. Yes, we took the good message in the teaching of Christ. These very good messages. But not we didn't give away our identity to become Jews, to become English. So how can the Engabi clan member become an Arab? Ubaida bin Bukenya. This is sickness. The sheikhs need to address it. The issue of haram, the attack on the pork eaters at Komamboga by these confused children. You know, the other bomb at Komamboga was among the pork eaters. The people eating pork. So these confused children, I think one of the reasons selecting that was that they are eating pork. Because these attackers, they came, they sat there, they didn't eat the pork, they bought soda, but I think they must have violated haram because they were smelling the pork being eaten. And then they planted the bomb and went. The attack on the pork eaters of Komamboga by these confused children Once I told His Excellency Bashir of Sudan that as a Munyankore, my list of haram, the uneatables, is much longer than his, because Bashir, haram, 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 pork. I said, but me as a Munyankore, my list is much longer than yours. I do not eat fish, I don't eat chicken, I don't eat pigs, I don't eat goat, I don't eat sheep, etc. However, whenever our Baganda neighbors in Ntungamo, Musa Chirwa, Amisi Muganzi, their descendants live in Chazanga, whenever they would visit us, we would give them the chicken we were keeping to eat insects around the kraal. The fact that we were not eating the chicken notwithstanding. This is how Africans live. You do different things, but you respect one another, and you collaborate where your interests coincide. Let the pork eaters eat their pork. Does pork in somebody's stomach cause you indigestion by long distance action? I was reading through the social media that some of the young people do not bring the nonsense yes, do not bring the nonsense of others here. This is our land. We shall protect it from all harmful nonsense. Therefore, our granddaughter, there was a young girl on social media, Rita Tesnabanja, and there was another one at H@HH836266816. There were these two, Nabanja and this one, were trying to say that there is an issue with the Muslim youth. That why are we targeting Muslim youth? These young people were saying on social media. Their stand is incorrect. Many of the Muslims in Ntungamo, because I'm telling you my life, many of the Muslims in Ntungamo and Ankole were part of the wealth creators, not part of the parasites. Bijega, I didn't remember to bring some of the grandchildren here. Bijega, the girl, one of the girls is my big mobilizer. She's a singer. Bijega was a butcher for cows in the trading center, and also owned a hotel, an eating place. There was a Nubian called Charakitanaba. He was so black. The Banyankole thought that he was not, because even his nails were black. So the Banyankole called him Charakitanaba, the one who doesn't wash his nails. He was a Nubian from our Nubians. Charakitanaba Kamisi of Kakukuru, a Munubi, was a transporter with his Opel box body vehicle. There was a fat man called Buchenya. Banyankole would call him Buchenya, but Baganda would call him Bukenya. Was the buyer of many of the cattle in the Ankole cattle auction markets, Ebukomera, such as Chabukuju, Kitwe, Ntungamo, Kagarama, etc., for slaughter in Mbarara. Therefore, the serious Bazukuru, please don't involve yourself in this nonsense. Leave the wealth creators alone. I am a live example here and can give you my experience of 74 years minus the 3 years when I could not understand things so clearly. I heard that Haji Mutumba, there is a man called Haji Mutumba, although I didn't know him, was also a cattle buyer. They should check with him. If he was, ask him. He will tell you of the symbiotic relationship among the wealth creators. Among the wealth creators, the relationship is symbiotic. You give me, I give you. There's no parasitism among the wealth creators. That's why we must isolate the parasites. If you see somebody making trouble, oyo mnyunyu soyo, mulya byengedde, nshanga bihiro. The ones who want things for which they have not worked for. If he was, ask him. He will tell you of the symbiotic relationship among the wealth creators, cultivators, cattle keepers, shopkeepers, transporters, traders, etc. The only thing we need from the public is vigilance by reporting all the suspicious people and items to the police promptly. According to what the police are telling me, the public is now very vigilant and they have been reporting about suspicious abandoned items like bags, etc. The police has been checking all of them. Most were harmless, containing clothes and other items, but one had to be blasted by the bomb squad because they did not want to take chances. That is the spirit. So, countrymen, I thank you. I thought I should share with you these 2 points, the issue of the vaccination, so that we open up the economy by January and give you the progress on the anti-crime fight, tell you not to get worried, because now, although we have not fully finished building, modernizing the capacity of the technology of the police, but the little we have done has given us a very good base to deal with crime promptly. The issue of Katumba, promptly dealt with. The issue of Masaka, promptly dealt with. The issue of the chairman in Fort Portal, Ntoroko, dealt with promptly. The crimes in the killing of the policeman in Barra, one of the actors is I think two are dead and others are arrested. No more joking, because much of this work is intelligence-led. It's not a war. It's not that we need a big army to fight. No. The problem is to discover who did what and you go for him. That's all. It is intelligence more than anything else, and that's what was lacking. I thank you and I wish you good luck.
Makondi kwisatu gakutusibwaku
gamba kombucha drink kyekyo kunywa abantu kye bayayanira ensanju zino ate nga kisangibwa mu matundiro wonna mu ggwanga.
Abantu bwe baraba Buganda kombucha drink bwe batabacyangarana.
Buganda kombucha drink kyakunywa katanyunta ekisogolebwa mu matooke tusangibwa Eganda Kyabaggu.
Tukwesusa ino wale mu State House Nakisero mukulembeze w'eiwanga Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yaberenga ate alina ensonga endindidde kubanga hakona kungategeeza eiwanga Uganda era nga entono kwedo dasinze okubanga ate hakona kuno okukakasa nti amasomero n'emirimu egindi